Hi, this is Fanny Broholm, and I am a spiritual teacher and a source coder and a healer, and apparently an extraterrestrial whisperer. And so let me tell you the story about how that came about. So I have always been very scientific, very political, very, scientific materialist. For the vast majority of my life, I have 2 master degrees, one from London School of Economics in Environmental Policy and Regulation. And so my family was very scientific, very, very political, and atheist. So no spiritual inclination, no religion. And so my path was always very down to earth. And yeah, it's only after I lost both of my parents and most significantly after I became a mother that I had a major spiritual awakening. And in that process, I began doing a lot of energy practices. I began having contact with my spirit guides, with my higher self. I had this clear insight, this knowing that we are so much more than these physical vessels, and that, our soul is reincarnating, and all of the challenges that we are experiencing are here to serve us and help us grow and expand in our consciousness, which is everything that exists is consciousness, right? And so this profound insight of the nature of reality was really catapulting me into this bliss bubble of just pure love and presence and surrender. And then I began teaching this stuff because I was like going from feeling really effing miserable and depressed and having postpartum anxiety and depression, and into all of a sudden shifting into this literal bliss state of awakening. And so that's where I felt like, okay, I need to teach other people this stuff. This is too good to, gatekeep. And then I really, shifted and became a spiritual teacher online, which for me was very, very cringy, very hard to accept, and very challenging for me to fully accept that identity for myself and get out of my spiritual closet. And when I did that, I began, having more and more profound experiences of direct connection with my guides, with my deceased parents. I was beginning to use the dowsing rods, which are these, what is it called? This metal in English, copper sticks that are moving depending on, what you're asking spirit about. And so the crossing of the rods are yes, and the opening is no, and so you can actually chat directly with spirit. And after having that practice for a long while, I began to notice a different presence in my circle of spirit guides around me. And I was having this intuitive nudge that this is an extraterrestrial being. But I wasn't willing to chat with the being, even though, the rods got hijacked by the being several times of like, hey, speak to me, right? And I was not willing to do it. It felt scary, or like, very different in the vibrational field of the other spirits and guides and deceased relatives, right? And so I was ignoring it, even though I had a clear nudge that was what was going on. Then I went to, through a series of pretty beautiful synchronicities, I ended up at a clairvoyant little clairvoyant shop at the town that I've just moved to, and she's really really brilliant. This clairvoyant, and she was like, I was just at this random event, and she was like, there are some higher dimensional beings who want to chat with you. They want to contact you, right? And higher dimensional beings is different from ancestors or spirits. It's ETs, right? It's beings from higher vibrational fields and higher and other dimensions as well. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, that resonates. I know, because I felt that too, right? And I didn't even ask her. It was like randomly that she said that to me. And I was opening up a little bit more and researching about like channeling and about extraterrestrials, and was beginning to open up a little bit more about the fact that there is so much that is pointing in that direction, that it could be a possibility. And I was also wondering, like, why is it that we have more resistance towards chatting with ETs than chatting with a spirit, right? An ET is just a humanoid being who is, statistically highly likely to be present in our vast universe, and who is chatting with us telepathically, which has also been shown scientifically lots of time to be possible. Telepathy, right? Among other things, telepathy tapes. If you haven't listened to that podcast, go do it. But yeah, so why is that harder for us to accept and lean into than spirits who are non-physical and who are deceased, and who we've been chatting with for thousands and thousands of years, right? And I believe we have too with ETs as well. But the current cultural atmosphere is like ETs is more wacko or like woo-woo than spirits, right? And so I was beginning to question that, like, why is that more difficult to believe? It actually should be less difficult to believe, right? And so I had this constant opening of like, what if it's real? How profoundly beautiful would that be, right? That we were actually not alone in the universe, and that we actually had brothers and sisters, humanoid brothers and sisters, who were trying to contact us and trying to make us feel good and relaxed about creating that contact. And so I was leaning into it more. I wasn't completely fully convinced, but I was now open to chatting through the dowsing rods with this extraterrestrial being. And so I was chatting with her, and it was a very different intelligence than the other guides that I'm regularly chatting with as well. And it felt very distinctively different from my own, in that the words that she was picking and using was not some words that I would use. And I felt like intuitively that I needed to channel her, and not just chat with her, but actually allow her voice to move through me and be like sort of a vessel or a microphone for her. And so I was like, how do I actually practice this? How do I know if I can do that? And then my partner, Toby, he said, why don't you just try opening your mouth and, allow it to move through? Because I had, cringingly admitted to him that I was, chatting with an alien. And I don't know if he still believes it, but he was like, cool, you do you, right? And I don't need to believe what you believe or explore what you're exploring on your path. Kudos to him for that. And so I did that, and there was a very like distinct sensation of like almost packages of knowledge being delivered to my conscious, and then me having to like quite rapidly say what was delivered in my awareness through my mouth before it like disappeared. And so it's not like a one-on-one dictation. It's more of like these packages of downloads of information coming into my consciousness, and then I can just open my mouth and speak it through. And still I wasn't convinced at all. I'm not quite sure that I'm even convinced now. But I went to another event with the same clairvoyant, and again, without me asking about it or taking initiative around it, she was like, you need to, create more contact with these higher dimensional beings. And so I just got that another confirmation that was going on. And so after having like a channeling session, I was like, the name Alva, or like I wanted to get a name on this entity, right? And I was like, what's your name? And I was using the dowsing rods to cross confirm what the information coming through was, so that I could like sort of practice it, right? Because it wasn't clear all the time that it was not my thoughts weren't interfering with what came through. And so like I think there was like 4 names coming in that was like sort of close to Alva, which was the name that came through lastly. And then all of a sudden Alva came through, and I checked with the dowsing rods, and it was a yes, that's the correct name. And then I looked it up afterwards, and Alva is a Nordic expression or name for magical being. And so I found that quite beautiful, that's the name that she chose for herself in our communication, at least. And it's not just one being, it's actually a conglomerate, or like an amount of beings. I actually don't know how many, but called like Alva as one consciousness. And then I was like, okay, this is freaking me out a little bit, and I want to have certainty, as we humans unfortunately very often do. We have this need, especially in our time of like scientific materialism being like our new religion, right? We need proof and verification, and so I was like, if this is true, could you please give me a sign and like let me know that it's actually true? And on that same evening, I went to bed, and me and Toby went to bed, and in the middle of the night, with the remote control next to our bed, the TV turned on. And it's not a smart TV, it's like an old school TV that you plug into the wall, right? And it turned on. And I was a little bit, freaked out, but like that could happen. I don't know. I haven't tried that before ever, or heard about it before ever, but I turned it off and put the remote control back on the night table. And as soon as I lay down again, the TV turned on again. And that's where I got pretty freaked out, because that's where I intuitively knew that was the sign that I had been asking for. And well, you can question it and say it was like technical issues or something like that. Toby is, explained it that way. But for me, that was like the confirmation that I needed. There's this thing called, technological trans communication, which humans have experienced since the development of technology, where, spirits and entities have contacted us through technology, with like lamps glistening or things being turned on and off at not normal intervals and stuff like that. And the day after, my music was turned on and off again in the shower twice, and my milk foamer was turned on like by itself 5 times. And so all of that led me to think, okay, this is the sign that I've been asking for. And yeah, so that's what's going on right now. And this has been much harder to embrace than my spiritual teacher role, and just chatting with my spirit guides and stuff like that. It's like there's some more openness towards that, but I'm also seeing an increased openness towards extraterrestrial existence. There's also a lot of more disclosure, right, coming from the US specifically, but also other countries like Brazil, as far as I remember, and Russia as well. And so that's also the message that's coming through from Alva, is that we're nearing open contact very, very soon, and so more and more people will experience being contacted by ETs, and it can be sightings, UFO sightings, but the physical evidence of the UFO sightings is less important than the actual telepathical connection, where you actually get that information and get to connect and feel the benign nature of these beings. Their technology is so sophisticated. If they wanted to wipe us out, they could have done so many, many times over. And as they say as well, if we wanted resources, your planet is not it. There's infinite amounts of empty planets out there that we can visit within a split second, right? And so we don't need your resources. We could wipe you out if we wanted to, but we haven't. We are here to help, right? And so that's the main message, that we're heading down a negative path, especially environmentally, but also politically, socially, in our inequality and the level of conflict, and especially around our biosphere collapsing very, very soon, and our loss of being able to reproduce, which is all of these things that these ETs have experienced themselves before and want to help us avoid, basically, is the message. And that is also because they are direct descendants of humans, in the way that this sounds very, very far off, but they have been using our DNA as well. It's not that they're descendants as such, and I'm not quite clear about the picture yet, but there's some DNA exchange between us and them, and so they are very invested in our survival and our thriving, and so that's the message. And I'm still feeling quite conflicted around it, but I just feel the excitement around this contact. I feel the pure knowingness around it. And so I'm less interested in sort of trying to convince people, and more interested in actually delivering the knowledge, the information coming through, so that it might be of help to people, and then they can do with it what they want. If they want to discard it, perfectly fine, right? And the people who need that message and resonate with it, they can, get that information that they need. And so that's really what's going on. I hope this was a little bit illuminating in terms of what's been going on with me lately. And you can try it out yourself and see what comes through. It's not very complicated, and I might teach it at some point as well. It's already a part of Wide Awake, actually, the contacting your guides and your higher self and using the dowsing rods, which is exactly what I'm doing. So I'm actually already teaching it. But maybe also with the spin of the more of like the ET connection at some point. But we'll see. That was, it for now.